Today we're going to be looking at a crossword set by Boatman. Now Boatman, whose real name is Ashley, lives somewhere near Brighton, I think, in the south coast of England, and I've had the pleasure of attending one of his masterclasses in which he spends a whole day talking about how you go about setting cryptic crosswords, everything from different types of clues, different devices that one can use when formulating clues, as well as themed crosswords and different techniques for which specific clues are good and bad in context of what you're trying to do. I pulled this particular crossword out of the archives because I don't think I've actually solved it. So I thought that I'd record myself trying to do so. Now, this crossword may have a theme to it. I can see the word Western appearing, or West, quite a bit, so that could be to do with films or something else. But let's take a look. So, 7 across. A Western pie that's good cooked. I suspect the definition is a Western, as in probably a film, and cooked is a pretty good anagram indicator. Pie that's good. The letter G for good is often typical, so we can certainly make 9 letters with pie. That's G, and I think you can get the word spaghetti from that, and a spaghetti western is a type of film. Excellent, we're in. 1 down. I'm fairly put upon to confess where an American lives. So I suspect letters of put anagramized gives us 3 letters, and then another 3 letters for confess. Well, if you own up to something, you confess about it, and Americans do seem to use the term uptown. 2 down. A contemptible person undermined by support for political activity. What's the definition of political activity? Not too sure. I need some more letters. Let's have a look at 9 across. Solved a clue for part of the West Country. Definition is solved. Oh, yes, solved is sorted out because that contains the letters of Dorset, which is a county in the west of England. Oops. But after some of the West End edition, this could be an embed, and by embed I mean the actual answer is actually hidden, if you like, in the letters of the entire clue. And the reason I think that is because after some of it, it kind of feels like it's possible, so I suspect that the definition is looked after, and some of the West End edition is just indicating it's an embed. Yes, look here, you have the word tended hidden in there. 4 down, firm, stem. Now, yes, you can, if you're staunch, you're firm. 12 across, where 1 would go to get food for native. I suspect that's I suspect this is inbred for native. Oh, and inbred where A taken out of bread for food. Contemptible person undermined by support for political activity. Oh, this is agitprop because a git is a contemptible person in slang terms, and prop is support. "14 people who get together in cars around London's West End." Well, I think he's being clever here because I think coupes are cars and L. So the West End of London, if you think about it, is the letter L, because if we read left to right, or indeed west to east, the West End of London is the letter L inside coupe, and that's couples for people who get together. 13. Going west and not really caring. Okay. Let's see, my first thought here is that going west was a reversal indicator, but I suspect it's part of the I think it is the definition, because we can anagramize caring okay and not really is the anagram indicator, and I think if you do that you get croaking. It's 11. Nixon, weak, even in the Midwest. I think sometimes you have to actually read these clues literally, and there is a technique that's used sometimes in cryptic crosswords where odd and even is an indication of alternate letters, and I think that Iowa can be made so starting from there, skip 1, even, so I-O-W-A, and Iowa is indeed a state in the Midwest of America. 5 down. Return to fashion. Expert embraces first principles with a twist. Definition here could be return. So I'm wondering if to fashion expert is an anagram of the word for an expert, like a pundit or a guru or something like that, where fashion is an anagram indicator. First principles are your ABCs, back, go back. Oh god. Gokwan is a so-called fashion expert, but he's really just an irritating oink on the television. Drink, second as chaser to West Country. Drink second is letter R, maybe, is one way of reading that. As chaser, though, makes me think it comes after something. W for West, or Ale. Yes, and possibly S for second, but yes, so Wales, therefore West Country, for that's where it is. West Country wench. Oh dear, so W for West and Oman for country gives you woman, which is, I suppose, a wench. Rather derogatory. 6 down. Criticised nationwide. Absence of characters composing in style. Nationwide. Absence of characters composing in. Definition must be criticised, therefore. Nationwide. 10 letters. If you take out IN, so absence of characters composing in, and anagamize that, where if you style something, you fashion it, you rearrange it, I suppose. I'm pretty certain the phrase wade into, if you wade into, you criticise because that's where you voice your opinion. 17. From Dakota onto Nevada, somewhere in the West Country. Bloody West Country again. It's an odd construct, that, from Dakota onto Nevada. Somewhere in the West Country, I think. Just because of the wordplay, I think this is another embed, actually. Yes, there it is. So Taunton is a place in Somerset, which is indeed in the West Country. I think if you're watching this from overseas, from the UK, this may seem a little tricky, particularly if you're not familiar with some of the geographic place names, and you know, I do feel for people who might not have this information readily to hand. That being said, though, it's not unreasonable to expect some of that, seeing as this is a British published newspaper. 18. US drug cops capture one from Mexico, yes, with plants. Well, I think the narcs are US drug cops, I believe. Mexico, yes, is C, S-I, and that's as far as my Mexican takes me. And one is probably the letter I or A. Yes, Narcissi is indeed a type of plant. I was actually originally thinking that's plant as in machinery, but the plural there helped me with that. 22. Carried too much from Calais, going west. Calais is in France. De is too much in French, and if you reverse that, going west, you get the word ported, And ported does indeed mean carried. What would you call a boatman if he retired in the West Country? So one of Boatman's trademarks when he sets crosswords is he will often, I use the phrase, put himself into the clue. So he'll use the word boatman, and it's really clever because there are, as it turns out, a number of things that boatman can stand for. If we think about he as a setter, then you could have me, I've, his, etc. Or if you think about boatmen, you could have coxswains and wains and mariners, tars and salts and that sort of thing. So there's often a lot to consider. However, what would you call boatman if he retired in the West Country? Two things here. The question mark means it's probably a play on words, and what would you call makes me think this is also a homophone, and we're probably therefore looking for a place. Okay, depending on how you choose to say this, well, there is a place in the West Country called Exeter, but if Boatman were to retire, and I really hope he does not anytime soon, he could be referred to as an ex-setter. So Exeter, ex-setter. Similarly sounding enough, although I think Boatman might be stretching the homophone definition just a little bit there. Okay, 22 down. Marshal up is given commendation. Anagram of Earpiz. Praise. Commendation. 27. Many went to America, the Wild West, to find something to eat. Wild West. I suspect there's the letters of West. You can make stew from that. Irish stew is something to eat, and maybe you could claim that, you know, there were a lot of Irish people who eventually settled in America. A little bit loose with the definition there. Tut. 25. One lies dead in a way perfected. Then again, it's another anagram of lies dead, and one could be the letter A or I. Probably I. Idolized is perfected. Across top of tombstone, right up and take bullet, finally bit the dust. 3, 4. Must be 8 dirt. A for cross, T for tombstone, and then reverse ride and bullet finally is letter T. $16 down. West Country again. Project in part of Scandinavia, not the southwest. Okay, so I think we're saying Think of a Scandinavian country, take the letters SW out of it, and you're left with the answer. Well, Sweden is the obvious one there, and you're left with the word Eden, and the Eden Project in Cornwall, in the West Country, is particularly grand. If you ever are in the local area there, I suggest a visit. 20. West Countries. First to get noticed, mad about it. Okay. Countries first is letter C, plus the letters of notice, so mad is the anagram indicator. Ah yes, Occident is west. You can indeed make that from notice. Let's not see. 15 down. Western, set in Oklahoma, product of miners hiding robbers ringleaders. Product of miners, well, it depends where you are in the world, but coal is the one that springs to mind for me. Coal and robbers ringleaders. If you split that word out, and so the leaders of robbers and ring are 2 R's. Oklahoma can be abbreviated to OK. It's state abbreviation, I believe, so I'm guessing that the OK Corral is what we're looking for, and that is a Western. State. Midwest. Not sure yet. Try 24. When storm breaks in the West Country. Dawn breaks in the East. Or from the East. Ah, Froome. Oh dear, you do need to have a lot of localised knowledge for this. So Froome, another place in Somerset, and yeah, so from east. Okay, 21 down. Leader of thieves, letter T perhaps, is out of time holding up miners, resisting attacks. Resisting attacks. I suppose leader of thieves is the letter T. Out of time possibly means the letters IME if we take the T off of the word time. Miners is often abbreviated to NUM, which is the National Union of Mine Workers. I'm certain, therefore, we can make the word immune from that. State in Midwest. Oh, crikey. So I think that's Maine, M-A-I-N-E, and the reason for that, I suspect, is we have Mae West, as in the former actress, and it's saying in mid, so you can actually put the letters in inside May. Like that. Well, that was pretty darn good, I felt. Yes, you do need to have some knowledge of UK geography in order to solve this, and I'm not necessarily certain that all of the clues were fair to that, particularly 23 down, where you really do have to understand the homophone being used here to stand much of a chance of working out the place name. However, this does not detract from this being a particularly good crossword. So we saw some interesting different cluing constructs there. Do pay attention to the words odd and even, because they will usually indicate you need to skip alternate letters in some way in order to get the various letters that the word plays ask you to get. But there you have it. This was one of Boatman's earlier crosswords. Thanks very much for watching.